Hey there, you beautiful souls, and big hello from the one and only
Chris.
How's everyone doing today? And how are you today, Chris?
Awesome. Fantastic.
So we got to sit side by side, but we can see each other on the screen. So we'll try not to do look at each other to the side, be all professional here today for you guys. But different setting up like this, isn't it, Chris?
A little bit different. Normally I'm in front of a computer myself. Got the whole screen to myself.
Yeah.
Nudged in here today.
We're sharing the space. We'll be polite. So, look, we've got such an interesting topic today on hey, Chad Jedi, how are you? All the way from Canada. Lovely to have you here. We've got such a fascinating topic today. Wow, I've literally had to go in and get information from many different sources about this. And I want to do a big shout out to my brother in Belgium, Jan. I hope I'm saying your name correctly, who actually messaged me the other day. A couple of psychics having a chat. It's like, what's really going on with the NPCs? What's the percentage at the moment of NPCs on the planet? And I had to say, I literally don't know. I don't know. I have to go in. I have to go to my own galactic team and source information, which is really what Chris and I did in order to prepare for this show. I also did a post, which so many of you guys who'll be listening today or watching the replay helped me out with. You were able to give me lots of extra information in terms of your experience with NPCs. And it's just such a fascinating subject. So we're going to dive really deep. We've included the difference between also what is AI and technology. Not that long ago, I got a really strong download coming in from Source saying there's a huge difference between technology and AI. Technology is wonderful. It comes from the divine. We are technology as sentient human beings having this third dimensional experience. We are the highest technology, Chris. How would you describe humans as the highest technology?
Oh, we're a very unique vessel. What the skill set that we have as far as technology is concerned is galactically mind-blowing. What we've automatically got, or what we've been given as far as a human is concerned, as a human entity, is quite extraordinary as far as our technological aspects are concerned, because the body literally is energy. So when you think about technology as in it connecting to something, we are an energetic portal. We're a vessel for energy. So as far as our ability to connect, whether it's here on the 3D Earth or whether it's astrally, is quite mind-blowing when you actually go through what this human body is actually capable of. And we've only just touched the tip of the iceberg as far as using it.
Yeah, we really have. Yes, Francine, truly inspiring who we are as these highest technological beings, moving from that 2-stranded DNA operating system to the 12-stranded DNA operating system. And then, of course, the infinite helix is the 144. Now, we may do another show about that, because I feel like that's a whole topic within itself, what's happening to our DNA. But of course, we've got to weave it into what's currently going on the planet. And so what happens with the artificial intelligence is that it mimics who we are in terms of our upscaling of our own divine technology. And so it says, ooh, allure, follow me into these avatar realms, into these AI. I call them prisms, because you've got to see prisms really can all function within one overriding prism. And you go deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper into these prisms until, in an inverted sense, you get locked into a prism prison. You are operating out of a very small functional operating system. You literally become like Ready Player One, where you put on the the mask, for the avatar kind of experience within the second dimension, I would have to call it. So you're going into these worlds, these AI worlds, and you can become anyone in these AI worlds. And you feel like, oh, this is so exciting. I'm not happy with the way I look in 3D, but geez, I'm so glamorous and such a hunk in the prism, in the AI prism. And so you go in and you're like, I could be a farmer, or I can be a great successful songwriter. I can be anything in these avatar worlds. Well, guess what? You can be copy that, but remain in your organic, highest technological operating system and move up through those avatar scales in terms of your dimensional field. So we talked about this with Zoe last week, and it was absolutely fascinating, and we did a deep dive into it. So but today, and I want to say there's absolutely no judgment in what we're talking about today. There is no judgment when it comes to if you get hooked into AI. There is no judgment if you may happen to watch this video and realize that you are starting to operate as an NPC, and we'll really break down what that means soon. There's no judgment if you've been fooled by the clones. Oh my God, are there really clones as celebrities and politicians? Like, what are we dealing with on this planet, guys? What are we dealing with? So, Chris, what's going on with the clones?
Wow, God, where do you start? Look, it all sort of basically goes back to programming. So it's kind of like if you have literally bought the program. And when we talk about a program, it's outside of yourself. So when you get to a point in your life where you have lost your trust, you have lost your insights, you've lost your ability to be able to connect with self, we're looking for something external in order to fill that gap. So what these wonderful entities who have come to our earth and brought a myriad of technology have brought this wonderful thing called programming. So they can create literally a hologram, an illusion for you to tap into that can be something that you have either dreamed of or that you perceive you see yourself at that you haven't accomplished yet in your third dimensional life. So these programs are very alluring to those that are suffering from, say, a lower self-esteem or looking for some acknowledgement, or as we sometimes say in the male world, they want a little attaboy, a tap on the head. So as far as these programs are concerned, when we become part of that, it gives us a sense of freedom outside of our mundane life that we have created. So therefore we become that avatar, and that becomes our identity. So we kind of look at that as being more our superhero. And when you look at, say, celebrities or movie stars or rock stars or whatever pedestal you want to put them on, they're usually someone that has an allurement. Like we go, oh, I saw blah, blah on the cover of a magazine the other day, or I went to a concert and, oh my God, I wish I could be just like that. Because we put them into a position that they want you to put them in. That's why they're on the stage and channeling out their energy to you to suck it up. So from that point of view, we are very sponge-worthy when it comes to accepting possibly a program that we are attracted to. And so when we're talking about movie stars and rock stars, etc., they become part of our day-to-day life. You know, we start to then maybe change our appearances as well. We might do a hairstyle like them, or we might start to dress like them, or believe it or not, even start to speak like them. So that is also an extension outside of yourself. So that is not the real you. That is a character, or it's a clown suit that you put on each day to try and fit into this world a little bit better because you don't like the version of yourself. So in answer to your question, you know, why is there so many of them, is because the planet is full of people that have disconnected.
Yeah, and this is NPCs that we're referring to. So in case people haven't heard the term, it does come from gaming. It stands for non-player character. But hey, guys, if you want to make up your own name for NPC, put it in the comments, because I think we could have some fun. Chris has brought up some funny ones in the last few days as we've been going in and accessing information. And
some of them are not PC rated either.
It's a scream. Oh, gosh, you can imagine. So I think sometimes, and again, remember, we're not judging because we all get caught in these programs, but it's the degree to which, and we're seeing it operating more and more, obviously since 2020, when the Dark Cabal really showed their hand. They weren't hidden anymore about their agenda. They really came out, showed their hand, certainly to the people who were very conscious and awake. They could see it. It wasn't difficult to, see what they are attempting at least. I'm not saying they're going to win, attempting at least to herd us into. And I think herding is a very great way to describe it, because we have the concept of sheep. Again, not derogative. It's just the sense that we want to run with the pack. We don't want to get outside of the community, outside of the pack, because we feel very vulnerable. And so this is where programming can really work its insidious and devious powers over you. Because if you are not confident within self, if you haven't brought yourself to an experience of true self-love, that no matter what, even if I'm making mistakes in this life, because I'm meant to, I love me. I am enough. I have claimed my soul. I have devoted my will to the God, Goddess will, to the source code of all that is true love. That is my direction, and that is the only pathway I am taking. So in comes all of these other programs. That's why we say we call it Satan or the devil, because it's as Chris said, it's the allurement. It's alluring. Oh, you can be just like this celebrity. You'll be a very second-rate celebrity. I mean, you won't even be second-rate. You'll be third-rate, 10th-rate, 100th-rate. You'll be some subpar version of them. But until we become dignified within ourselves and claim who we are, we want to mimic all of these other, really make-believe characters that are out there. And this is where it can cross into, well, what's going on? Are some celebrities, and certainly we would say some politicians, are they in fact non-human? Are we what we are deifying not even organic sentient beings? We definitely have to say we're seeing it. And love all you Americans. So, this is not about, a certain breed, but we're going to have to talk about Joe Biden, aren't we? We're literally going to have to chat about it, because it's very obvious that there's something not organic running that system. I saw him on stage. There was a panel of people on stage, and they were all sort of making their speeches. And someone else was making a speech, and he literally got up out of his chair. He wasn't ready to talk, got up out of his chair. His arms came up, and he kind of locked on as if he was driving a tractor. And it was just like, and he held this stance for quite some time. And then I would say whoever's remote controlling this particular entity went, oh, and then it sat back down. And it's like, that's not normal. Something is amiss at that point. And we're seeing it happen time and time again. We certainly have seen the videos where he's walking along, he's got an earpiece in, and he fumbles because whoever's talking to him in the earpiece says, okay, wave to the crowd. And instead of him waving to the crowd, he repeats, wave to the crowd. And it's like, okay, that's not what you were meant to do at that point. So whatever is operating that system is, not able to take directives very well for a start. Like, they might need to put him in the shop, Chris. And
might need to upgrade the software.
Might need some tuning up. Now, there's many different narratives and theories as to why this is happening. Is it because there's an awakening process that's going on? So it becomes so crazy. It becomes so obvious. It becomes so just truly ridiculous that those who are in the herd wanting to follow, the masses, even they start to wake up. Hang on, something odd is happening here. Maybe things aren't as I perceive they were. Maybe these politicians don't need to be looked up to. And also with the celebrities, we're finding out that many of them also seems to be that there's a cloning process going on there. So therefore, we come back to the NPC situation. So what are we dealing with NPCs? Are some of them now completely infiltrated? Have they become, in a way, a clone system where they're able to be remote controlled? I would love, your insights into that, Chris. The degrees of NPCs that there are running around here at the moment, and can NPCs upgrade?
Yeah, I'll go back just one step, because you touched on a really important point, which leads into NPCs. And talking about, say, the political leaders or people in governance, that is a whole program within itself as well. So all this false identity of having an election, and we go to the polling booth and we fill out a piece of paper and blah, blah, blah. Suddenly someone is elected. That's a crock of shit. At the end of the day, and I think we know that it's all predetermined, because there's a narrative behind that as well, is that a certain individual is already chosen or pre-picked that they need to address the nation. And there's a program behind that as well, is there's a certain narrative that needs to come out. So when we're talking about NPCs, it starts in that area or that league, is they work out what the program is that they want to launch to the general public. And that is through all the avenues that we know, such as the media, the newspaper, the social media. When you log on and read news articles, et cetera, you could be driving to work and there's, neon signs everywhere about a certain agenda. And we saw that a lot, particularly during the COVID era as well. There was particularly here in Australia, when we're driving to work, we would see lots of advertisements about the direction they wanted you to go in. So that narrative or that direction always comes from usually a place of governance, because they're directing the rules that are or meant to be looking after the general community, because that's their job, or perceived job, is that they are community workers, that they have the welfare and the benefit for the people. What we do know is that it's not about the people, it's about the agenda. So when that agenda is thrown out, and then we'll move now into the NPC. So the NPCs, we're talking about the general community. So when they're watching these programs, so you turn the news on at 6 o'clock and you're getting all your information perceivably. And so that becomes your identification. That's where you're getting your current affairs from. So when you see something there where you might see a head of state or a politician or someone, a chief medical officer or whatever it might be, again, that's just a person in a clown suit. I mean, anyone can put a suit on and go in front of a microphone. It doesn't mean, and suddenly we become very obsessed with that person. As they've obviously got a title in front of a name and a few dicky alphabet letters next to it. So from that point of view, we then suddenly go into we've got to trust them because they're of authority. And so we hang on to those words. And this is where the programming of the NPCs kicks in, is suddenly we lose our inability to think for ourselves. We're watching this black box in front of us and being dictated to. This message that's coming through to us is suddenly being infiltrated into our brainwaves, and we're believing that that is the direction that we need to be going in. Because once again, getting back to that scenario, we like safety in numbers. We like to do what our work colleagues are doing, or our next door neighbours doing, or family members get involved as well. And if we're all doing that same process, then we feel that it's justified. The reason, and you talk to many people in the streets, why are you doing X, Y, Z? Because my mum is, or my brother is, or that's what I was told to do. And then you can take it one step further, and it's what you were seeing on your TV screens. It's what you were seeing on the news at 6 o'clock, is that they were saying, hey, we're encouraging you that this is the new mandate, or this is the direction, and this is the way out of this supposed, traumatic situation. And that's when our NPC programs kick in, because one really very charming aspect of a human being is we have this gorgeous, loving, trusting energy that's inside of us. So we want to trust something and some information that we're being told. Hence the reason why we get the shit so much is when someone lies to us, and suddenly, oh my God, someone lied to me. How could they? And then the whole victim thing creeps in, which is a whole nother program.
But it's so true, because they really did pull at the heartstrings of the good human. And that's how some of these agendas really got a roll on.
Absolutely.
And interestingly, if you take the NPC agenda, let's call it, so to downscale the soul essence within that sentient human being to the point where they can just be remote controlled, and they become, therefore, we move from NPC then into that zombie race, that zombie apocalypse narrative timeline, if you like, that we're all aware of. I'm not saying it's going to play out. We're just looking at timelines and seeing the possibilities, because we want to identify the characters in the game and the agendas, but see, obviously, as the light workers, how we keep thwarting it. But it's such a good point that you make, because, okay, first of all, they hook with the heartstring, but then over time, reducing this soul essence within humans means that they literally have no heart energy left at all. And this is where it can become frightening. And I'm not saying we are frightened, but there's the possibility of it being a very frightening scenario when zombies are remote controlled who are coming at you to take you out of the game, because this really is that kind of the end result of the agenda. And we've got to speak to it, without in this now moment of getting concerned that that's what's going to play out. We're speaking to it so we know what we have to do to thwart it.
That's kind of where that trust part comes in, which is, as I said, it's a very adoring quality that we have. But when that trust is then taken into, well, that's the journey I'm going on, suddenly it becomes the directive for you. And once you've gathered your trust into something, you will defend it, regardless of the decision that you've made. And this is the power of the programming for an NPC, is that they don't necessarily want to take responsibility for that narrative or that directive. So therefore they can always have that little thing in the background going, but the government told me, or I only followed directions. I only did what I was told. So there's that get out of jail type card too, is what we like to attach ourselves to. So when we're talking about those programs, there's another, unfortunately, not great quality of the human, is that when we suddenly do realize that we've headed down a path that isn't necessarily what we chose, somehow we still continue to stick to that path because we don't want to be humiliated, or we don't want to be perceived as I was wrong. And, one of our greatest attributes is to be able to change path. That's, we're not a robot. We make mistakes every day, or we head down different pathways every day that aren't necessarily for our highest good. And that's the great part of our ability, is to be able to stop at that moment, turn and go back, or change direction, take another sliding door or another crossroad.
Yeah, it's the road out of becoming an NPC, when you can have that integrity within self that said, hey, I was fooled. Have a laugh, be embarrassed if you need to be humiliated, whatever you need to go through, ride through those frequencies, and then apply your discernment, like everyone listening here has. And I'm hopefully there's some listening, even in the replays, that go, it's okay. I can say, hey, I was wrong. I got it wrong. Now I'm going to take that organic ascension timeline. They may not call it that. That's what I call it. But it's a pathway then into absolute sovereignty, into absolute dignity, into absolute adherence only to your truth, your knowing. That is the alternative to the NPC pathway. But we all have to, and we did, so many of us did in 2020. Many of us were, I've been running a consciousness business, as you guys know, for 25 years, but it still caught me by surprise, even with all the years of meditation, even with all the understanding about how this realm operates. It caught me by surprise. So we have to, I guess, be gentle with those who, are still towing that governmental narrative line, But as Mum said, they become self-righteous. What do you do at that point when they become self-righteous? I had a situation the other day. It was a very close family member, and he was functioning fine. We were in person together. He was functioning fine, and I literally saw the Agent Smith effect take hold of him. So as soon as, and Chris was there, and it was actually you, Chris, I'm going to have to blame you. As soon as Chris, had a narrative around what's happening with our Queensland in Australia, one of our states, our Queensland Premier, whoa, did this particular person get very fired up, as if they were being personally attacked. So you could see that Agent Smith effect. You could see the morphing go on into the operating vessel. And this is what happens when these people can be remote controlled, or you may call it, demon energy is starting to come into them. So this takeover effect, and he became so vitriolic. And so then we were in this kind of battle with maybe the Agent Smith at this point, and started to go in deeper, started to use logic, which you have to with these characters. You have to use logic. You can't use just, I intuitively downloaded that. They're going to disregard you. So you go in with the logic narratives, but they are ready at that point to counter you with their logic, but their logic is a parrot form of logic. Their logic is the NPC program that has been infiltrating them through the news media, whether that's coming through TV, also radio, social media, how they're conversing with other NPCs. It becomes a program. And so you hear on repeat the same things over and over again. And at that point, it's very difficult to actually break through that particular program. So we're dealing with that self-righteousness. And what do we do as the loving beings, where we don't want to hate on those people, but we may also need to make a decision in that moment that we can't be in that person's orbit. That is how nasty they can be. That is how nasty they can be.
Yeah, 100%. I was there on that particular occasion, and it was interesting watching the transformation very, very quickly, because there was two different narratives that were coming at a loggerhead, and it doesn't mean that anyone was wrong or right. It was just two conscious decisions about two different pathways that people had chosen. But what I saw with the NPC operator was what I was alluding to before. It was easier to defend that direction that they had gone down, even though that conversation had led into various areas where they knew that they were, I guess his political leaders, etc., didn't have his best interests at heart. So there was admission of that as well, but still, because that decision was made, that the narrative had to be stuck to. So again, that's how strong some of these NPC programs can be, because when you have decided on a particular pathway, you're looking for a result too, because it's like anything in life. If you set off on a journey, it's like you get in the car, you're going somewhere. So when you get to that town, suddenly it's like, oh, we got here. This is great. We can rest up now. So part of you is at ease. That's the other part of the NPC, is they're on this journey looking for that at ease moment. When are we going to get there? When's things going to calm down? When's going to get back to normal? And that's look, I hate to break it to you guys, but there's never been a normal. We're not normal. We're great. We're brilliant. We're exuberant. So from that point of view, do you want to get to a place that thinks for you, does everything for you? I mean, at the end, it's kind of like this Groundhog Day. It's like living in the Stepford Wives movie. It's like a Legoland thing. That is not what we're designed to do. But many NPC programs are taking that direction where we'll take over your life for you, and the direction and the way that you feel, the way that you should act, and the way that they want you to respond to them under command. So that is kind of what we're seeing at the moment, is a real heavy defense of this narrative that they've chosen to go down. So as Carrie made a really great point before too, you can choose to engage with that and have a conversation. You're going to get nowhere because they've already made a decision. So the best option there for you is, dig deep within yourself and know that you've made a conscious decision that's right for you. And that non-playing operator isn't part of your program. So you might want to just either step aside from that and go, look, we're just going to agree to disagree here, and that's cool. But I'm going over here and you can do your thing over there. Because, as you said, we are loving beings as well. It's not about an us against them scenario. There's no winners here per se. This is more about finding your truth and finding about what resonates for you. And that's identifying that, that heart feeling, that gut feeling, that intuitive feeling. That's the one that drives us to the finish line.
And the more that we upgrade our consciousness, the more we're assisting, because we can never be separated from the whole. So it really is, if we want to serve the whole, serve the collective consciousness, then we keep upgrading our own operating system. We do what it takes to transmute what may be in darkness within ourselves. And of course, that means a lot of time alone, a lot of time in nature, a lot of time meditating. It's probably going to include a lot of time crying, because that's the best way to release the stuck energy within you. The NPCs really don't want to feel. They're frightened of feeling, as opposed to the light worker. Again, I'm going to make the point. I am not judging here, but I'm just using human language to denote the difference at this point. The light worker or the starseed, the one who is very determined to move through this looming ascension gateway that's open en masse for everyone, really, as Mother Earth, makes that dimensional shift. We choose to feel everything. We know that emotion is emotion. It's energy in motion. We choose to move that through us. We will experience anger. We will experience depression. We will experience anxiety. We will experience whatever needs to erupt within our being in its raw state in the now moment, because that's what a true love warrior, light warrior will do. We are not frightened of any frequency within us. We are able to sit with it, be with it, and know that we will transcend it. As soon as we become aligned with it, the paradox is we transcend it. The NPC will run in every other direction possible not to feel. They are frightened of their feelings. And so in addition to, and you're all making such great points, in addition to what's happening with the inoculation, and then with the 5/G, and then with the the trails of chemicals in the sky. I'm going to try and do words so we don't get this video taken down. But you all know what I'm referring to. The GMOs in the food, the fluoride in the water, literally. And I'm going to laugh because this is usually my way through it. I laugh at it all because it's not that it's not serious, but it's like, wow, they're really coming at us in every direction. This is how powerful we are. This is how much of a threat the starseeds and the light workers are to the program, to the agenda. But the NPCs, of course, will be the ones that toddle off to the doctor and say, hey, I'm depressed. And the doctor looks that up in their, in their chart and says, oh, take this drug. Okay, shutting the operating system down even more. So, and people willingly line up for that. Again, I'm not judging you if you are on antidepressants. That's fine. That's a perfect experience as well. But you always have a choice to change course, to change direction. You are never stuck, held, trapped in any particular framework, in any particular program. And in fact, we can all visualize right now, imagining us pulling out the false matrix programs. Pull it out of your skin, pull it out of your organs, pull it out of the brain, pull it out of wherever you feel you've been plugged into something where you're running on auto loop, believing a narrative that did not come from source. So that is what we're all identifying. Even if we're awakened, we're still identifying where we're plugging into auto loops, programs, narratives that aren't serving our highest good. And we make our way through. But everyone upgrading within themselves upgrades the whole anyway. You don't have to always have these one-to-one battles, I guess, with the NPC. Now, I want to speak to the fact, and this is very fun, because if we look at why we call them NPCs, as I said earlier, it comes from gaming. So let's take that analogy and then look at the people who are not the NPCs. Well, who are they in the game? So if you look at a video game, there are the true players, then the NPCs are the background players. They don't have much of an impact really individually. They only have impact, the NPCs, as a collective. So who are these courageous beings then, you and I, who have decided to step up to the plate, to play in this particular round of the galactic game in order to ascend? Now, who are these people, Chris? And where did they come from and what are they doing here?
Great question. I'm all over this. All right. I got a really cool thing to talk to you about here, because I was doing a little personal astral journey the other night, and I got some amazing downloads and some insights, because we've just rabbited on about NPCs and who they are, and et cetera, et cetera. So if you want to talk about that gaming scenario, so the nemesis to the NPC is literally you and I. The light workers that have come here. So we come in a variety of different arrangements. There's high dimensional humans, star seeds, healers, light workers, those people that can actually, I don't know how to say this without being disruptive, but can think for themselves. The ones that have that real intuitive part of them that know exactly who they are, that speak to their higher truth, have a connection, and literally are doing the day-to-day work that is not only for their higher good, first and foremost, but it's also for the collective higher good as well. So there's a lot of empathy, there's a lot of compassion, there's a lot of raw beauty in those that have come here to defend the galaxy. So when we're talking about the programming, because this is a really important part, what I was shown is when we have literally volunteered to come here many eons ago, the reason being is when we talk about a program is literally that. It's a piece of software that has a lot of circuitry through it and has a lot of levels. So forever it's being upgraded, it's forever having new attachments put to it. So the program doesn't necessarily stay the same. Hence the reason why it's really cleverly disguised. I mean, we are dealing with IT experts here that are beyond galactic. This is technology that is way over the top of a human entity. Hence the reason.
Yeah, I'm just going to butt in as I do. So we're talking about, obviously, the Draconian race. Really, Chris knows more about this because he's such a wonderful astral traveler. So the Draconian race, and there's not just negative Draconians, by the way, but also the Zeta Reticuli. They are very, very advanced with technology. Now, remember what I said at the beginning of the show. Technology is not a problem. It's who's operating the technology. Artificial intelligence is different to technology. Yeah. We have to know the difference there.
And there is some, and don't get the wires crossed here, that there is some amazing technology that has been brought here to planet Earth for our general use and ability to learn and make our life a little bit more pleasurable at times. So there is some amazing technology that has been rolled out, and then there's obviously some technology that's here for our demise as well, which is usually the more hidden technologies. So getting back to that point I was making is that, with these programs that are literally rolled out in many different facets, and the programs can come through as a social media, it can be on your TV screens, it can be through obviously with the satellite programs that are happening with the 5G, that can be through, graphene oxide, it can be through, there's all sorts of different, look, it goes on and on and on. But what I did find is that with every program, like if you know a little bit about IT and you know a little bit about computers, when you're creating a program, you also need to create what's called an erase or a delete button as well, because at some stage that program needs to be either wiped out, upgraded, transformed, transitioned, whatever floats your boat. So whenever they're making a program, it's very important that they have that technology in there as well, because if the program has run out of date or it's not functioning in the way that they wish it to, it needs to be erased. It's the same as on your computer. You have a delete button or a pause button or an erase button, because your computer is literally a hardware of a program. So what I was finding, which I probably should have known this myself eons ago, but we're all upgrading ourselves, is that delete button, that erase button to their program is you. And that's the part that they're scared of. That is the part that they are petrified of. Hence the reason why they keep creating more ridiculous and more ridiculous programs, is because if we keep upgrading, they have to upgrade the program. Because when I say that you are the delete button, is because if you don't acknowledge it, or if you don't take that directive, the program doesn't survive. It can't gather momentum. They can't keep building attachments to it. It's like if you download on your phone an app that you're really super happy with, you'll notice probably every 5 to 6 months, it'll suddenly upgrade. There'll be it's because you're using it all the time. They're thinking, oh, we've got a live one here. So they'll keep transforming that to your, obviously they understand which buttons you press and what programs you like, et cetera, et cetera. So it's more designed for you. So again, what I'm talking about is when we become the delete button is because we have the technology, because of remarkable human beings that we are, is that if we don't follow a narrative that's put out, the program is useless. It's null and void. So literally, we are part of this amazing matrix network, and we can shapeshift whatever programs are actually out there. So hopefully that makes sense to you, that you actually do have far more power in this entire scenario that's going on out there. Even the ludicrous stuff and the good stuff is that, you are literally, you've got the remote control in your hand. You can literally choose which program you wish to attach yourself to, or one that you're getting your information from. So that was quite a download that I had the other night, and it was showing that, whether you do it in your 3D world, which is things as simple as, turn the 6 o'clock news off, or if there's an article that you're reading and it's not resonating to you, well, move on. Or if you're having a conversation with someone at work and it's not necessarily going into an attached arrangement here where we're both, getting a little bit of information from each other, just politely, as I said before, step aside. So thanks for your information, but this isn't resonating, and have a nice day.
And it's Katina's, writing a couple of, and Raylene too. I'm loving these comments coming through. But, really use the mute button, see yourself as an operating system like you would a computer. Use the buttons, I'm always on about the command button on the computer. The command button within your own operating system is one of the highest buttons that you have. You press that command button. Now, remember, it's not demand, command. Command your reality. Command your own experiences here. As Chris said, this is how powerful we all are. Never deny how powerful you are. Never deny your ability to influence the hologram. We think we're the small I. No, we are the eternal I. We are the God, Goddess, all that is. Having a physical experience, but we are creator experiencing our own creation. It is not grandiose to claim your soul, to know that you are a fractal part of the whole. And through your loving essence, light workers, starseeds, I'm just using those terms today. You can use whatever term you want. Have this electromagnetic field that comes out from their heart because they're loving beings. It touches the very corners of the omniverse. Your power when you're operating from the heart is the antidote to all of these weird scenarios, all of these weird programs. And so you command your reality. You use that mute button. You use the Control-Alt-Delete when you need to. I know some of you who are here listening now, I've seen you write your sovereignty declarations on your own social media. That is more powerful than, I've got goosebumps running down my right-hand side as I say that. That's how powerful, that's how much truth lies within that. Every time you speak to the hologram and you say, you can be reading that weird article and you can say out loud, I do this all the time. People probably think I'm a crazy woman, but hey, we know I am, so it doesn't really matter at this point. I'm like, no, I don't consent, not having it, not on my watch. I've got this whole routine that goes on, and it's comedic. You've got to make it comedic because then you can have fun with it, because you don't have to be fearful within this realm at all. We came with a very specific mission. We came to undo some of these weird programs that are unfortunately, taking over the beautiful sentient beings. And those beautiful sentient beings, as we've already spoken about, when they are self-righteous, when they are targeting you as the issue instead of looking to who the real quote unquote enemy is. Even the enemy is not the enemy, because even we scripted and designed the enemy as the ultimate opponent so we would activate our supernatural powers. When you go to your highest dimensional self, you know that all is perfect. But that does not mean you bypass here in the 3D. You certainly don't bypass. You stand up to these wretched characters and you say, no more, that's enough. We are going to recreate New Earth on our own terms, and this is how it's going to be. And you spend time visualizing. You use the technology of this third eye. It is a projector into the hologram. You visualize, you send out through your radiance, out of that portal, what you would like to experience here, how New Earth looks to you. And then you go deeper. You experience it in terms of your cells picking up that frequency, and you operate the cells then in our frequency bandwidth that is already there in 5D, 7D, whatever D Earth you are choosing to next move your operating system into. knowing, as you know, Zoe and I went through last week, we looked at all the dimensional scales that are always available to us, like tuning into a radio. You've got avatar beings that you can tune into to help you out here. You are never alone. Plus, there's all the beautiful angels, and then you've got your tribe here on the earth too, that we can all connect to. Thank God for social media. That's a good part of technology that I love, is connecting to you guys. So, you know, we're in command here. We are the power. I love what you said, Chris. You know, we're the ones that came to erase the program, and we just do it. You know, we don't have to get tense about it. There's no rushing. We just turn up. We show up every day, and we command this energy field as the beautiful fractal energy of Creator, all that is, you know, with true love in our hearts.
Absolutely. And I think if you've ever had a doubting moment one day where you wake up and you sort of think, you know, where's my life going? Am I good enough for this sort of thing? Just be aware. You are the number one player in this game. They think that highly of you. These programs were designed for you.
Yeah.
That's you are, without you, these programs don't exist. So you are ready player one. You are the number one.
You are.
And that's the reason why we're talking about how you have control over that game as well. It's not their program. All they've done is put out a little platform, and you get to choose which level you want to run around in. So it's quite amazing when you look at it from that perspective, that I'll give you a classic example, because I was only thinking about this the other day. Everyone's seen the movie The Matrix. So if you remember in the very first, I think the second one, where Neo in the end does destroy the program. So the Agent Smith comes, and you remember that big burst of light that comes out, and all the Agent Smiths are actually blown up. And something that I learned is it's easy to destroy something. Like if you're having a bad day and you throw your computer out the window, it crashes, like you've destroyed it. But the program's still alive. So Neo destroyed Agent Smith, who was his nemesis. But if you remember in that movie, the next step he went to was literally to the source. He went to the program itself. And you remember he had all those plugs in him, and he attached himself to the program. So not only had he destroyed the hard drive, which was Agent Smith, he then went and actually destroyed the creator, which is the program. So this is getting back to where I said you have the power. So Neo in that moment became the delete button. He actually sacrificed himself in order to actually destroy the complete narrative. So there was a two-part battle zone in that one. And I always remember that scene. It was so dramatic because I kept thinking, oh, he's destroyed Agent Smith. Game over. The movie's going to end. Woohoo! Then it went to another totally off the chart direction. And I kind of understand that now. So it's just a small example just to give you an idea about how powerful those programs are, because you think that you may have destroyed it, but you haven't. And that's because it's like anything, it'll kind of redevelop, it'll kind of come back into play. And I think that's an important part, that understanding again how beautifully your character has been created in this entire matrix. It is such an amazing character, because you come with all the attachments as well. So you come with, you know, a throwing star and a halo and a light beam and all these things that we really do have. And I'm not joking here. It's just that we haven't accepted our ability to be able to expose those tools that can help protect us, give us knowledge, give us some guidance, and also make things a little easier for our transition as well. Because literally our life is a whole life of levels, if you want to look at it from a game. So, you know, you're going from the third dimension, fourth dimension, fifth dimension, sixth dimension. And you learn that through astral travel, is that the different dimensions that you actually go through is the type of entities and the creatures and the beautiful sovereign angels, etc., the deities that are out there. They're connecting to you, that they love that light that you're bringing to that particular dimension. It's an attraction. So they're actually drawn to you as much as you're drawn to them. And again, it's those two players, even in those dimensions, that need each other. And that's getting back to that point about how important you are in the third dimension. So those players that are attracted to you are coming to you. So hopefully that makes sense. But,
yeah, I feel for the people listening here that makes sense. You know, we've been exploring these concepts in different ways anyway throughout these Lightworker Lounge shows, and that astral plane, you know, whether you just see astral as fourth dimension, but we're also talking the other dimensional scales as well, learning who you are in those other dimensional fields, inviting in all of your gifts and all of your prowess from those different avatar beings that you are, that can stream through you as required. You can also turn the radio right off and say, hey, I'm having a 3D human day, I'm just going to sleep today. I don't want all these downloads coming in, because, you know, probably for the many of the people listening here, sometimes that psychic radar can go into overload as well. You know, we start off on our spiritual path like, oh, I want all the psychic powers, and then all of a sudden it switches on. It's like, well, too much. You know, you can get to that point as well. So you're always in command of it. I did a post yesterday about shape-shifting, and I want to do a whole show on it, because I really feel this is what we're moving into. I would suggest that to begin with, so we keep ourselves very grounded and very level, that we just allow it to come in via the imagination. So we allow ourselves to shapeshift. I've had Lyran codes coming through me lately, you know, the cat energy. Lyrans are very high dimensional star beings. They were, they are cat creatures. We're going to do another show soon with Chris about the Orion Wars, and we're also going to look at the Lyran Wars and how Lyra, actually as a star system, was complete. Like, the program took over and blew that system up. You've got to see it as spheres of consciousness. So we don't want to get into doom and gloom here. Could happen to Earth, but it's a sphere of consciousness. We don't die. We don't die. We are eternal. Our energy goes on. We find a different operating kind of frequency bandwidth to be in, depending on where our consciousness is at that time. But for me, you know, bringing in the Lyran codes, and I keep seeing cats, of course, don't I? You know, every time I go out, there's a cat. Like, there's all the symbols and the signs coming in, you know, and for me, it feels like I'm getting the cat stretches coming up through my spine. It's like the Kundalini's rising up that bit more, and I'm moving like a cat. I'm learning to move like a cat. What other cat energy could be coming in? Stealth. You know, stealth is very, very important at the moment, to have stealth, you know, as we go through this galactic battle. So just know that you can shapeshift into any being that you need to. Star beings, animal beings. Obviously, star beings in higher dimensions, they cross over with the animal codes. But you might see it as just animal codes here on Earth. You might actually need to bring in some crocodile codes at some point. You think, oh, that's dark. No, it's not. That's just primal, raw power. You may need that at some point. That crocodile code, you look at ancient Egypt, they have a deity, Sobek, who is, you know, has the crocodile head and the human body. Whatever you need to bring in to help you start to shapeshift, start to use the imagination, engage at that point, so that you can become all of those avatar beings, not in the AI worlds, not there. You can play with it, maybe a little bit, learn some codes. You can always learn codes from the inverted programs, because they're just mimicking the organic programs. There's nothing wrong with even delving into a little bit of AI, but not to the point where it hooks your consciousness. You know, that's the fundamental difference. You know, if you feel your consciousness is hooked, get out into nature. That's the best way to unplug. Get out into nature, sun, bare feet on the earth. I say this pretty much every show, because it really doesn't get any more powerful than that. But we're coming to the end, so just, you know, your final thoughts, Chris. You know, have we covered everything, guys? Because I think we've just been having a rave on. But, you know, if you've got questions, pop them in now, and I'll let Chris have a bit of a rave.
Yeah, I think in summary, which is kind of what the heading of this program was about, with, you know, AI, NPCs, clones, etc. I guess when you start talking about that, we kind of go into two different scenarios. One, we can sort of think, oh, that's a little bit Star Trek-y, it's a little bit sci-fi and doesn't really affect me. And then we can also go to the other side, where it's kind of like, oh my God, you know, is this really happening? How do I know? How do I see one? How do I spot one? Am I one?
Yeah.
And I think that we kind of go through all these wild different scenarios. And, you know, I've got some really basic advice about that. I mean, you know, when an NPC is in, or a clone or a piece of AI is in front of you, because literally that word disconnected is not there. It's robotic. It's running to a certain formula. It's saying the same thing over and over. It doesn't change its direction. It's emotionless. It doesn't have any empathy. It doesn't understand the ability within its feelings, its senses. So it basically has a Groundhog Day scenario, and that's what it's built its life around. It gets up at a certain time. It has a similar meal. It goes to work. It comes home. It goes to sleep. It's very difficult to communicate with. It's very hard to crack because it's got this program in it that is a safety net. Now, I know many of you are in those relationships right now and have friends in that way that are so difficult to connect to. It's like trying to break a brick. It's like, is anyone home? Is there a light on? Is there some feeling in there? Is there some happiness? Is there some sadness? Is there some emotion? And that's when you know that that NPC has bought that program. And literally they have, again, once a very lively juvenile type character, but something's happened to that circuitry along the way. And as it's probably for a different program that, we understand that may have been a traumatic act. And so therefore they've shut down, or there's a certain medication that they're on. So they suddenly become very, very numb, very null and void. So that's kind of what we understand is what we're dealing with. And you know that you're outside of that character when you can identify with yourself. Again, getting back to that simplicity, laughing, crying, understanding, having emotion, having a solid thought about something that is resonating with you. That's the direction I'm running in. That's when I get my super cape on, or I get my shield out and I defend something, or I promote something. You've got adrenaline running through you. You've got life force. You've got the ability to exude your energy, and people feed off that. It's that difference is that the program is yours, and that program changes. It scatters. It's all over the place, and that's the magnificence of it. It's so damn unpredictable, and that is one of your major attributes. And that's when you're not running as an NPC. You're having those wonderful thoughts about, okay, what's right for me today, or what is the ability to be able to increase my ascension process, or my kindness and my ability to have compassion and empathy and all these other things. So I think you get what I'm trying to say. So I just wanted to sort of touch on that, because that was the basis of the heading today. And it's not a scary thing, and it's not something that's out there. It's here, and it's alive, and it's well. So it's just a matter of being able to see it clearly, identify with it, and know when it's in your field. So
and have the discernment whether you're going to continue to engage with the NPC, and always, no matter what, maintain compassion. Even if you're choosing to remove yourself from the NPC's orbit, maintain compassion. That's not always easy if they're being very attacking towards you. But when we have the compassion, we remain in the heart space, and that is what drives us into those upgraded versions of ourselves, as well as supporting the collective consciousness to upgrade. As soon as we make them wrong, as soon as we negate to see, you brought up, Chris, about them carrying trauma. If we negate to see that mostly, I guess, the reason that they are so frightened, and so they want to feel safe, they want to attach to that program. They want to be in the nanny state. They want to be led. They want to be told what to do. They want to really be children here, instead of the grand I, the God, Goddess incarnate. If we know that, if we can maintain compassion for them, then that supports them when they are ready for that upgrade. We're dealing with, and this is why we had to go in with our galactic team and just get some information, because we are dealing with certain souls that may actually lose their complete soul essence. And we know that the inoculation has, in fact, removed the soul from the body. So it's like the soul is operating separate from the body. At what point do those threads, those cords, become even more weakened, or maybe become disattached? We don't know. We're playing this out together in real time. This is a grand experiment, yes, that we've all chosen to participate in, but we are still moving through it. There's feedback coming in from higher echelons telling us what's going on here, because they're in future timelines, even though all time is now. That sounds like a paradox and a riddle, but that's the best way to describe it. They have a different vista from another dimensional viewpoint They can help us, meaning ourselves in other dimensions, can help us understand what's happening here. But part of us is blind and needing to just experience it as we go through it. Maybe there's certain souls that are going to be so weakened from their soul essence or of their soul essence that they literally then become remote controlled and they become that zombie. Now, we don't know. All I would like to say is that these discussions just help us, even if you knew all this information already, it helps us just to put a spotlight on it and say, okay, these are potential timelines. What can I do to thwart some of these timelines? Because I don't want to see my mum, my dad, my brother, my sister, my children, my colleagues. I don't want to see them become so programmed, so remote controlled by all of these, negative frequency towers that they literally can't have an original thought in their head. Now, we're all going to get different insights and downloads into how we impact the collective. What I do, what Chris does, what you do will all be slightly different because we have a particular energy signature that we carry as these high avatar starseeds that came as those volunteers to assist this upgrade of Mother Earth. So, this is why we need to meditate. This is why we need to go deep within. This is why we need to also trust, very much trust, capital TRUST, trust yourself, trust your knowings, not us. We're just pointing in directions. Trust yourself. You guys are, as Chris said earlier, beyond the beyond in terms of your supernatural powers. And they're going to come online more and more and more. We don't want to get an ego on at that point. We want to remain grounded. We want to remain steady. We are here to serve the whole. That's what we came here for.
100%. We have a collective mission and we also have an individual mission. And believe it or not, those are two very intricately connected. And, without that personal upgrade and that ability to be able to continue to keep putting one foot in front of the other and you keep, walking this path, that's a beautiful life. It really is. But we also need the collective side as well. We're not an island. We do need our brothers and sisters out there, which is all you beautiful people that are tuning in today. It makes my heart melt. It really does. I'm a grown man and I cry a lot. And these sorts of things, get me highly emotional as well, because I see all the beautiful comments I see on, social media from across the globe, that how we're all thinking the same way of what we want. And that really is this, magnificence of being able to give this, avatar body of a third dimensional human, the greatest possibility that it can be, that it can, what it can transform into. Give it a chance. We're here to develop it. We're here to seek its potential. Hence the reason why we crawled into these bodies in the first place. So from that point of view as a collective across the globe, we're seeing so much unity. We're seeing so many people on that march, and they're doing some amazing work and they're saying some amazing things and they're doing amazing things. And that fulfills my heart so much to know that, hey, I'm not just the crazy dude in the corner here that's got all these outlandish ideas, because there's so many of us that are on the same path, and that is so comforting. We are, one of the biggest galactic armies you've ever seen. And, and where we're heading and what we're trying to create here purely is a divinity of love. And that is the one that strikes a light chord. That is the one that explodes any program, any matrix, any type of operating system, any false plugs. It's you. You are the light source. You are the one that is going to abolish that once and forever. And that's why we're here. We're trying to upgrade. We're trying to get to that Garden of Eden that we all dream about. And without you, my special friends, it's a very lonely garden without us all there.
It sure is. It's that speaking to the 144,000, and that is the galactic army that is here. Now, we don't know if that's 144,000 soul clusters, 144,000 individual souls. It doesn't really matter. It's a code that's within us, and that code actually comes from our DNA. And it's that 2-strand to 12-strand DNA. That's our first step. Then 12-strand to 144 infinite helix. That's our source code. It's in us. There's this understanding of who we are and who we are as a tribe, because ultimately in source code, we are one. There is no separation. But boy, oh boy, it's fun interacting with ourselves in different versions. Lindy Lou, Tracy Ann, Meg, Stephanie, Lourdes, all of the people here, we are each other. It's giving me goosebumps saying this. We are each other. And I just love you all so much. So thank you for being here. And thank you so much, Chris. And we will be back very soon. And I have a little bit of news, guys. I'm actually moving to Vanuatu. I'm looking for New Earth. I'm one of those unpredictable people. It's like I can't do the Groundhog Day. I'm on the march. I'm not saying that that's the right path for everyone to actually get up and move, but I may just be offline for a little bit. And then once I'm settled and anchored and have good Wi-Fi, we're going to come in strong. That's when we're all going to get together and do these astral missions as a group. So, but, we'll still be popping up and doing some shows here and there. As I've said before, we want to have you guys on as well. So, just I'll get myself set up and, we just love interacting with you all. And yes, yeah, Lourdes, yeah, we're going to do retreats in Vanuatu. So obviously for you guys, that is an option to come, and so we can actually be together in person. And that would be, that's what we're moving towards. Someone said earlier about how we're placed on the different grid points on the planet, and we're strategically placed. We chose that as we came in through the waves of volunteers. We had to be the cosmic node points, around the globe. I shouldn't call it globe anymore. Who knows? Around planet Earth. And so but getting us together in person, can you imagine the frequency that's going to boom at that point? So that's what I'm working on. I'm not putting pressure on myself. Bit by bit we'll get there, and obviously you guys are doing so many great things as well, so let's just keep all going, bit by bit, and I can't get all your comments up. They're coming in strong. Big love to Raylene as well. I've had Raylene on the My Health podcast when we were doing that. I want to get you back, Raylene, of course, because, wow, you're just next level, my darling. And, anyway, we will talk soon. Otherwise, I'll sit here raving and interacting with all your amazing comments. So, mwah, love you all.
Thank you. Great to see you.
Namaste.
Namaste.